Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Taylor Johnson. I am the education reporter here at the Sacramento Observer. Today, we are doing a special issue on education and what it's like for both students, teachers, and administrators here in our local schools. I'm here with Dr. Tiffany Smith-Simmons, and it's really great to meet you.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So I guess my first question for you is, what inspired you to pursue a career in education?
I think what inspired me was actually me myself. I was in schools here in Sacramento and not receiving the education that I needed to pursue anything. I was grateful to have awesome parents that did not allow me to just accept the grades I was earning. And so Saturday morning, I had a little record player with 45s, and it was the multiplication tables. And I had to listen to that before I could do anything else. And I just really always wanted to be the teacher that I needed myself.
That's great. So I know you're currently working at the district office, but what roles have you had as Sac City Schools?
Yes, I started my career just over 27 years ago as a first grade teacher and at Pacific Elementary. And from there, I had the awesome opportunity to be a literacy coach for teachers that were learning. And then I was an elementary assistant principal. From there, I had an opportunity to lead the district's elementary curriculum department. And I was an equity, access, and achievement coordinator. Had the opportunity to become a principal, probably my favorite job of the elementary school, actually two elementary schools. And now I'm in human resources.
What was pretty much what made you pivot to administration rather than teaching?
As a teacher, you have direct influence of 20 or 24 students in your classroom. And I just really wanted to cast my net wider. I wanted to be able to influence the learning and growing at a school site with a bigger influence. And so I looked into becoming a principal.
So what's one of your favorite experiences as an administrator, like from any role?
I was touring my campus. We had some donors that were looking to convert a room to a learning lab. And we were just walking around the campus at lunchtime. And I popped into the library because the library for me, even as a young girl, has always been a favorite place. And so I popped into the library because I wanted to share with the donors kind of my hopes and dreams for that space. And we walked in and I'll never forget who was there. There were 6 girls in there with the librarian during their lunchtime. So they were in the library researching what college that they wanted to attend when they graduated from high school. Totally spontaneous, not anything I asked them to do. And they had a list of schools, and I was able to ask them, well, what school and why? And they had reasons why. So it wasn't them really just goofing off, because I always held them to a higher bar. And at the end of the following school year, the district decided that my student population was too small. We were doing budget cuts. And so they closed the school. But at the closure of the school, I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Allen Rowe and UCAN, and he arranged for 8 students at elementary school to be conditionally accepted to Morgan State University, complete with scholarships. And I think that announcement was probably coupled with them just in the library studying on their own, and being able to announce that was probably one of my fondest memories as a principal.
What's some of the challenges you faced as specifically a Black administrator in these schools?
Specifically as a Black administrator, I'll pause and just say a little bit about my doctoral study. I studied myself. I studied the Black woman elementary school principal. And I think the tenet or the framework, other mothering, I took very seriously the students that attended my school and assigned each of them my last name, and I just wanted the absolute best. And I will recall one morning I was in the office, school hadn't started, and this my little fifth grade boys came bursting into the office. Dr. Simmons, Dr. Simmons, Dr. Simmons. And what's going on? And 10 seconds later, here comes two brothers being escorted by a police officer. No. And I just thought, it's not even 8 o'clock in the morning. What on earth? What could have happened? Figured it out. They were not making good choices. They were just kind of running into the street, and the police officer simply just wanted an adult to know. Unfortunately, some of the teachers saw that and just pegged the kind of day that they were going to have. They were not in trouble in a sense where there was any citations or anyone being arrested. The police officer didn't even ask me to phone their families. He just wanted me to know, another adult to know, that they were making poor choices, and he wanted me to reinforce how dangerous what they were doing was doing. They were being kids. They were not stealing or robbing or doing anything. They were just playing chicken. But unfortunately, the teachers saw that, and they felt like they didn't belong in school that day. And so I had to fight the teachers, to be, frank, and say, no, they belong in school. They belong in school every day. And that day I taught them in my office because the teachers did not want them in the classroom.
That's a shame, but yeah. I'm happy that, they were still able to be taught by you that day.
Yes.
What do you think? So a lot of parents may not necessarily understand the differences between an administrator in a school versus administrators in district offices. Like, what are some of those differences?
I think an administrator in the school, it's a double-edged sword. They are in charge of the learning and growing for the family's most precious jewel. I believe that families send the best that they have to school. They don't keep the good ones at home. We get their best. And so I think that families just trust the school to do what they need to do to educate their children. And for a district office, I think a family tends to think that the district office is the system, and the district office is against their children because principals will say, well, it's not my choice, it's the district. So I think there's distrust with the district, and because there's an inability to really develop those relationships. I still, a lot of my friends and family think I do too much, but I still think the relationships are important. And so I still show up when I can show up so that I can continue that relationship, so that at the end of the day, they know it's not Tiffany that's doing this, but here's what we have to do. Let's figure out how we can do it together to meet the needs of your son or your daughter.
For the future generation, that more Black administrators, more teachers will try to become administrators in the future?
Absolutely. I will say, first, I am a proud graduate of Howard University, and I don't think that there is a place better that trains teachers. Being trained as a teacher in Washington, D.C., I was an English major and had a minor in education, and we went into the schools. And so I was able to see firsthand, where the kids were coming from. I wanted teachers that had been trained to really care about the whole child. I remember when I was still a teacher, I was driving home, leaving the campus and driving home, and one of our sixth graders was walking down the street wailing. I never again have heard the sound of this young man wailing, and he was in handcuffs. And I called the principal. I said, oh my gosh, principal, so-and-so is walking in the streets with handcuffs. And I remember her saying, We are here to educate the kids from 8 to 2. What happens after that is their family's business. And I just said, no, we've got to care for the whole child. If we do not care for or care about what happened last night or what happened in the morning, they say kids don't care about what you care about until they know that you care. Like I cared. He wasn't in my class. He was in 6th grade, but I cared about him. It's like I would want to make sure that students know that I care and I'm watching what's happening in the world, but also being very careful. So when you think about Black teachers, they need affinity groups. They need support. You can bring them in like I did from North Carolina, Morgan State, Wiley College, but if we don't support them, they will too be erased. And so notice I said retaining and recruitment of Black teachers have always been very important to me.
Right. But even for, administrators as well, for those Black teachers who would do the pivot as you did.
Yeah, I think for Black administrators, again, it's wanting to cast your net wider. But for Black administrators, I say this all the time, and I haven't chipped away at what the solution is. But they too need affinity groups. They too need to have a safe sounding board to go to talk with and people that know the system. One of the programs that I am proud of, we were looking at our administrators and the lack of diversity. Mm-hmm. And I won't say it was a direct, like when the train left the station, but it definitely became a focus after the train left the station. We have been able to support teacher leaders in obtaining their administrative credential. And 80% of them have been people of color. And I think, and we did it as cohorts. So again, not true affinity, but the cohorts. So they have someone to talk to when their teachers come at them because they want the kids to go home. Mm-hmm. What are you doing, Tiffany? These kids were brought to school with a cop. Why are you letting them stay at school? And those are the things that day in and day out, our Black administrators are challenged with because they know that the kids need to be in school and not at home.
So what's the cultural responsive summer program and how did you help with that?
Cultural responsive teaching was really starting to gather some traction. Mm-hmm. And so I was a co-author of a curriculum for the summer where students were able to learn about drumming, learn about dancing, learn about cooking. And the favorite part, because I mentioned I love libraries, I hand selected the material, the read alouds that they would do or the textbooks that they would use to teach. And what was phenomenal, I would say, is they got to learn that same R-controlled vowel, but in a book that featured characters that look like them. Mm-hmm. And they got to showcase everything that they learned at the end of the summer with the culminating activity. It was at Father Keith Bikini, and they have like the perfect stage for it. But they did African drumming and dancing, and they came to school in the summer every single day with their spirits lifted.
So pivoting to the other thing that the nominee wanted to highlight was your efforts to establish partnerships with HBCUs. So I was just curious about the recruitment and assistance you had for that.
Yes, I think our HBCU recruitment is, again, something that I just scratched out one day and said, I think we can do this. And so I partnered with Dr. Alan Rowe, who has UCAN here locally. And I called him up and I said, Dr. Rowe, I want to recruit specifically at HBCUs. You know everybody at the HBCUs. Can we do it? And he said, wow, yeah, let's do it. But I just think that the HBCU recruitment, I learned a lot. But I was able to really foster some good relationships with some young people that were here to really set the world on fire in education. So I still get to recruit specifically Black educators because there's all kinds of research that says that children, no matter their race, do better with Black educators. So whenever I'm able to recruit or bring someone or support a Black educator, I absolutely do.
Thank you so much for coming out here today and speaking to me about Black administrators and your role at Sac City Unified. For those that are interested, Sacramento Observer is doing a special education issue specifically on our Black students, teachers, and administrators. So keep an eye out on that one. Thank you so much.